Sam Walton, Made in America, by Sam Walton with John Huey. Picture this moment with me. You're 27, fresh out of the Army, bursting with ambition and confidence. You've scraped together every penny you own, $25,000, an absolute fortune back then, to buy your first business. It's a tiny, struggling variety store in Newport, Arkansas. You set yourself an audacious goal: turn this into the best, most profitable store in the entire state within 5 years. So you throw everything you have into it. Dawn to dusk, every single day, you're constantly experimenting with wild new ideas. A popcorn machine appears on the sidewalk, then an ice cream machine right beside it, and suddenly your store becomes the hottest spot in town. You're watching your competitor across the street like a hawk, absorbing every trick he knows. You're hauling a trailer across state lines in the dead of night, hunting for better deals so you can give your customers better prices. And it actually works. Better than your wildest dreams. Within a few years, you haven't just hit your goal, you've obliterated it. Your little store is now the top variety store not just in Arkansas, but across 6 entire states. You've built a real life here. Young family, president of the Chamber of Commerce, feeling absolutely invincible. Then one day, your landlord calls you in. He tells you he's so impressed with your success that he's decided not to renew your lease. He wants to hand the store to his own son. Just like that, everything you've poured your heart into is being ripped away. You're getting kicked out of town. It feels, in your own words, like an absolute nightmare. For most people, a devastating blow like that would be the end, a crushing, final defeat. But for this young man, Sam Walton, it became the most valuable lesson of his entire life. It was the moment that launched him on a path to build not just another store, but the largest retail empire the world has ever seen, Walmart. Today, we're diving into his autobiography, Made in America. This isn't just a business story. It's about how a small-town Oklahoma kid, who drove a beat-up pickup truck his whole life, fundamentally transformed how the entire world shops. By the time we're done, you'll understand the simple, powerful, and often rebellious rules he lived by. You'll discover how he converted devastating setbacks into golden opportunities, how he built a culture his competitors still can't replicate, and how he proved that the secret to building something massive is to never, ever stop thinking small. This is the story of a true American original, and the lessons he left behind matter just as much today as they did when he was getting started. To really grasp the Walmart story, we need to travel back to a time and place that feels worlds away. Sam Walton entered the world in Kingfisher, Oklahoma in 1918 and grew up smack in the middle of the Great Depression. This wasn't just hard times. It was the crucible that forged his entire philosophy on money, work, and life itself. His father, Thomas Gibson Walton, loved to trade anything: horses, cars, even a hog for a wristwatch so they could have meat on the table. He was honest and hardworking, teaching Sam the art of the deal, but he refused to take on debt. His mother, Nan, was fiercely ambitious for her kids. She decided from day one that Sam would go to college and make something of himself. Together, his parents shared one unshakable approach to money. They simply didn't spend it. This wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was survival. Sam said they never thought of themselves as poor, but they learned early that every single dollar had to be earned through sweat and effort. When he was maybe 7 or 8, he started selling magazine subscriptions. His mother launched a small milk business, and Sam's job was getting up early to milk the cows, then delivering bottles after football practice. He ran paper routes from 7th grade straight through college. He absorbed a lesson most people today completely miss. A dollar represents a piece of your life. It's your time, your energy, your effort crystallized. When you see it that way, you learn to respect it. You don't throw it away carelessly. This bone-deep respect for the value of $1 wasn't just a quirk. It became the cornerstone of his entire business empire. Years later, when he was a billionaire, people were fascinated that he still drove an old pickup, wore a Walmart baseball cap, and got his hair cut at the local barbershop. His brother Bud explained it simply, "It's just the way we were brought up. When a penny's lying on the street, how many people would bend down to pick it up? I guarantee I would, and I know Sam would." But frugality was only part of the equation. Sam Walton was born with an almost superhuman dose of ambition and a hunger to compete. He had to be the best at everything he touched. When he joined the Boy Scouts, he bet the other boys on who'd make Eagle Scout first. He won, becoming the youngest Eagle Scout in Missouri history at the time. In high school, he wasn't just on the football team. He was quarterback of an undefeated state championship squad. Basketball team? Undefeated state champs too. He once reflected, "In my whole life, I never played in a losing football game." This wasn't luck. It taught him to expect victory. It planted a belief that if he planned, prepared, and outworked everyone else, he had earned the right to win. Later, when facing off against retail giants like Kmart, he saw them as just another rival team he needed to beat. This competitive fire carried him through college at the University of Missouri. Despite coming from modest means, he became president of his fraternity, president of the senior class, and even president of a massive Bible class spanning 2 colleges. His leadership secret was stunningly simple. "I learned early on that one of the secrets to campus leadership was the simplest thing of all. Speak to people coming down the sidewalk before they speak to you." He made it his mission to know everyone, call them by name, make them feel seen. This lesson in human connection would stay with him forever. He was financing his own education, running a newspaper delivery business that pulled in $4,000 or $5,000 a year, a small fortune during the Depression. He was working so relentlessly that by graduation, he was just exhausted. He had dreams of attending the Walton School of Finance, but the money simply wasn't there. So when a J.C. Penney recruiter visited campus, he took the job. The salary? $75 a month. And just like that, on June 3, 1940, Sam Walton stepped into the world of retail. He fell in love with it immediately. Talking to customers, making sales, it energized him. But he had one glaring weakness. Paperwork was his nightmare. He hated keeping customers waiting while he fumbled with sales slips. A traveling auditor named Blake would get absolutely furious with him. "Walton, I'd fire you if you weren't such a good salesman. Maybe you're just not cut out for retail." But Sam found a mentor in his store manager, Duncan Majors, who genuinely excited him about the business. Then one day, the founder himself, James Cash Penney, visited the store. Sam never forgot watching Mr. Penney demonstrate how to wrap a package using minimal paper and twine, a tiny lesson in efficiency that stayed with him forever. After serving in the Army during World War II, where a minor heart irregularity kept him from combat, he knew 2 things with absolute certainty. He wanted to marry Helen Robson, and he wanted to run his own business. Helen was smart, ambitious, and strong-willed. She also had one critical rule. After moving 16 times in their first 2 years of marriage, she told him, "I'll follow you anywhere you want, as long as you don't ask me to live in a big city. 10,000 people is plenty for me." That one simple request would, in so many ways, determine Walmart's entire trajectory. It forced Sam to look away from the big cities where all the action seemed concentrated, and focus instead on the small towns everyone else was ignoring. So in 1945, With $5,000 of his own savings and a $20,000 loan from his father-in-law, 27-year-old Sam Walton bought his first Ben Franklin variety store in Newport, Arkansas. Which brings us right back to where we started. He poured his soul into that store. He was so green, he admits most of what he learned came from constantly spying on his competitor across the street, John Dunham, whose store was doing double his business. But Sam was a quick learner. First year, he boosted sales from $72,000 to $105,000. Next year, $140,000. Then $175,000. Soon he'd overtaken his competitor. He was always experimenting. He argued with suppliers constantly. The Ben Franklin franchise wanted him buying 80% of merchandise from them, but Sam knew he could get better deals going straight to manufacturers. He started driving his old car, with a homemade trailer to Tennessee, finding suppliers who'd sell him goods for far less than franchise prices. He'd price those items low and watch them fly off the shelves. During this period, he stumbled upon the single most important insight of his entire career. It came from something mundane: ladies' underwear. He found a supplier in New York selling him panties for $2 a dozen. Franchise price was $2.50, and he'd been selling them 3 pairs for $1. But with his new lower cost, he could offer 4 for $1. Here's the simple, profound lesson he discovered. As he explained, say I bought an item for 80 cents. I found that by pricing it at $1, I could sell 3 times more than pricing it at $1.20. I might make only half the profit per item, but because I was selling 3 times as many, the overall profit was much greater. This is the essence of discounting. Cut your price, boost your sales to a point where you earn far more total profit than at the higher price. Sounds obvious now, but back then it was radical thinking that flew in the face of traditional retail's obsession with protecting high markups. That little Newport store became his laboratory, his business school. After 5 years of relentless effort, it was the top Ben Franklin in the entire region. He'd done it, built the best. Then he lost everything. In his excitement to get started, he'd overlooked one tiny detail in his lease: no renewal option. The landlord, witnessing his success, refused to renew at any price and handed the store to his own son. Sam was devastated. He called it the lowest point of his business life, getting kicked out of the town he loved. But he also recognized it as probably a blessing. He was forced to start over, but this time with real knowledge. He was 32 years old, and now he was a genuine, battle-tested merchant. So in 1950, he and Helen relocated to tiny Bentonville, Arkansas. Population, 3,000. He bought another small variety store on the town square, but this time he secured a 99-year lease. He named it Walton's Five and Dime. He'd read about a revolutionary concept called self-service, where customers could grab items themselves instead of waiting for a clerk. He'd drove all night to Minnesota to see 2 stores testing it, loved what he witnessed, and made his new store one of the first self-service variety stores in the country. From that little store on Bentonville Square, the empire started growing, slowly at first. A second store in Fayetteville, another with his brother Bud near Kansas City. By 1960, they had 15 stores, but Sam was getting restless. The variety store business felt limiting. He kept hearing about a new retail wave: discounting. Companies like Kmart were just launching, and a guy named Herb Gibson was opening stores with a brutally simple philosophy: buy it low, stack it high, sell it cheap. Sam knew this was the future. He pitched his franchise, Butler Brothers, on backing him in a chain of discount stores targeting small towns. They flatly refused. "The truth is," he said, "when those Butler Brothers folks turned down my discounting idea, I got a little angry, and maybe that helped me decide to swim upstream on my own. Swimming upstream became his battle cry. If everyone else was doing it one way, chances were good he could find his niche doing the exact opposite. Everyone in retail obsessed over big cities. Conventional wisdom said towns under 50,000 couldn't support a discount store. So Sam decided he'd go where nobody else would, into small-town America. He had to put up 95% of the money himself. Nobody wanted to gamble on his crazy idea. But on July 2nd, 1962, in Rogers, Arkansas, he opened a store he called Walmart. On the sign hung two simple promises that would guide the company forever. "We sell for less," and "satisfaction guaranteed." The first stores were, by his own admission, ugly, bare-bones buildings with concrete floors and wooden plank fixtures. When David Glass, future Walmart CEO, saw the Harrison, Arkansas store, he called it the worst retail store I'd ever seen. Watermelons were stacked on the sidewalk in 115-degree heat, popping and making a mess. But inside, merchandise was priced 20% below the competition. Sam was running a bold experiment. Would customers in small towns flock to a barn-like store just for low prices? The answer roared back, absolutely yes. The strategy wasn't just about small towns. It was how he executed. He called it market saturation. Instead of hopscotching across the country like Kmart, he'd build a distribution center, then draw a circle representing about a day's drive. He'd fill in that circle, town by town, until he owned the region. This strategy delivered massive benefits. It kept distribution costs incredibly low. Word of mouth did most of his advertising. When you had stores in every little town in an area, people just knew who Walmart was. To find perfect locations, he used his airplane. He'd fly low over a town, tip the plane sideways, and study traffic patterns to see where growth was heading. Then he'd land, find the property owner he wanted, and try closing a deal on the spot. As the company exploded through the 1970s, from 32 stores to 276 in a decade, Sam realized he couldn't do everything himself. He became a master at finding talent in unlikely places. College degrees didn't matter to him. Attitude and work ethic did. He looked for what he called action-oriented, do-it-now, go-type folks, and he made them his partners. This is arguably the most crucial element of Walmart's success, the culture he built. It didn't happen by accident. It was a deliberate, conscious effort to make every single employee feel like part of a team, a family. He started by calling them associates, not employees, a term he borrowed from J.C. Penney and a trip to England. But it was more than semantics. In 1971, he launched a profit-sharing plan for all associates. Anyone who'd been there a year and worked at least 1,000 hours qualified. The company contributed a percentage of wages to a plan invested mostly in Walmart stock. Over the years, this created hundreds, possibly thousands of millionaires from truck drivers, stock clerks, and hourly workers. One truck driver who started in 1972 remembered Sam telling him, "If you'll just stick with me for 20 years, I guarantee you'll have $100,000 in profit sharing." He thought it was a joke. By the early 90s, he had over $700,000. Sam believed in a simple, powerful paradox. The more you share profits with your associates, the more profit flows back to the company. Why? Because, as he put it, the way management treats the associates is exactly how the associates will then treat the customers. And if the associates treat the customers well, the customers will return again and again, and that's where the real profit in this business lies. To build this partnership, he knew money wasn't enough. He had to share information. From the beginning, Walmart operated like an open book. He shared a store's sales, profits, and purchases not just with managers, but with every hourly associate. He believed the more they knew, the more they'd understand, and the more they'd care. He pushed responsibility to the front lines. He created store within a store, where department heads, many of them hourly associates, ran their sections like independent businesses. They ordered, merchandised, and tracked their own profitability. And he built a culture where ideas bubbled up from the bottom. The famous Walmart people greeter wasn't some executive brainstorm. It came from a Louisiana store manager who wanted a friendly way to welcome customers and discourage shoplifters. Sam saw it, loved it, and fought for over a year to implement it company-wide, despite resistance from his own managers who thought it wasted money. Of course, the culture was also famous for being slightly bonkers. At the heart was the Saturday morning meeting. Every Saturday at 7:30, hundreds of managers and associates gathered in Bentonville to talk business. But it was never boring. Sam might kick things off leading the University of Arkansas Razorback cheer. There were singing truck drivers, ridiculous contests, and outrageous bets. One year, Sam bet the company couldn't achieve pre-tax profit above 8%. When he lost, he wore a grass skirt and did the hula on Wall Street. It made headlines everywhere. People thought it was just a wacky publicity stunt. But Sam knew it was much deeper. It was about building spirit, breaking down barriers, showing that nobody, not even the chairman, was too important to be the butt of a joke. As he said, "Just because we work so hard, we don't have to go around with long faces all the time." This unique blend of ruthless efficiency, obsessive customer focus, and a fun-loving, people-first culture became unstoppable. Walmart didn't just compete with rivals, it learned from them. Sam was famous for studying the competition. He claimed he'd been in more Kmart stores than anybody. He'd walk their aisles, chat with employees, figure out what they were doing right so he could do it better. When Kmart finally decided to take on Walmart in its own backyard, Walmart was ready. They didn't just survive, they thrived, emerging even stronger and more confident. As the company grew into a giant, Sam worried constantly about it becoming bloated and bureaucratic. His solution was elegant: think small. "The bigger Walmart gets," he said, "the more essential it is that we think small. Because that's exactly how we became a huge corporation, by not acting like one." He insisted company leaders stay connected to stores. Top executives were required to spend several days weekly in the field, visiting stores, listening to associates, and bringing back at least one idea worth more than their trip cost. He fought to keep corporate overhead bare bones, operating on a lean 2% expense structure he essentially invented. Executive offices were famously Spartan, cheap paneling, simple furniture. As he saw it, every dollar wasted on fancy offices was a dollar that couldn't be passed to customers as savings. In the end, Sam Walton's story testifies to a few powerful, timeless truths. It's about unwavering commitment to your core purpose. For him, that purpose was always the customer. It's about sharing success with the people who helped you achieve it. It's about staying humble, constantly learning, and never fearing breaking rules and swimming against the current. He never lost that hands-on, small-town merchant's touch. Even as a multi-billionaire, his greatest joy was walking into one of his stores, chatting with the department head about her sales numbers, and seeing the pride in her eyes as she explained her plan to reach number one. That, for him, was the real measure of success. Looking back on Sam Walton's story, it's tempting to fixate on the sheer scale of his success, the billions, the thousands of stores. But if that's all you see, you miss the most important part of his legacy. What truly stands out isn't the size of the empire he built, but the simplicity of the principles he used to build it. He wasn't a genius in the traditional sense. He didn't invent a revolutionary product. He wasn't a Wall Street financial wizard. He was, at his core, a merchant, a shopkeeper from a small town who never forgot the fundamental truth of business. You exist to serve the customer. That was his North Star. And every decision, every system, every piece of his culture pointed directly toward it. 3 lessons from his life feel especially powerful for anyone who wants to build something meaningful. First is the power of action bias. Sam Walton never sat around philosophizing. He was a doer. He experimented constantly. The popcorn machine, self-service layout, massive tide displays, many were just experiments. Some worked, some flopped. But he was always trying, always tinkering, always learning. He understood you can't learn what customers want sitting in an office, staring at reports. You have to get on the floor, try things, talk to people, see what happens. The computer tells you what you sold, he said, but never what you could have sold. That wisdom only comes from action. Second is the profound impact of genuine partnership. So many leaders today talk about empowerment and teamwork, but for most, it's empty words. Sam Walton lived it. He shared profits, sure, but more importantly, he shared information and responsibility. He believed frontline people had the best ideas, and he built systems to listen to them. Think about the people greeter. That didn't come from an expensive consultant. It came from a store manager solving a problem. Sam had the wisdom to recognize a good idea and the humility to adopt it, regardless of its source. He proved that when you treat people like partners, they'll perform beyond your wildest expectations. Finally, there's the lesson of swimming upstream. Sam built his empire going where nobody else would, doing what everyone said was impossible. They told him you couldn't run a discount store in a town of 5,000. He proved them wrong. They said he couldn't compete with Kmart. He proved them wrong. He had unshakable belief in his ideas, even when everyone else doubted. This isn't about stubborn contrarianism. It's about having courage to trust your judgment, ignore conventional wisdom, and carve your own path. So what can you take from this today? Here are a few simple actions inspired by the Walmart way. First, get your ear to the ground, wherever you work, or even in school or family life. Take time this week to talk to people on the front lines. Ask what's working and what isn't. Ask for one idea that could make things better, then truly listen. Second, find something to celebrate. Sam knew success runs on spirit and energy. Find a small win this week, yours or someone else's, and make a point to celebrate it. Acknowledge the effort. Share the praise. You'll be amazed how much it lifts everyone's spirits. Third, think like a customer. In everything you do, school project, part-time job, how you interact with people, ask yourself, am I making things easier, better, more valuable for the person I'm trying to serve? That simple perspective shift is the foundation of every great business. We've journeyed through the incredible story of Made in America by Sam Walton today. We've touched on major themes and powerful moments that shaped his company. But a summary like this is really just an invitation. The real value comes from experiencing the book yourself, hearing Sam tell his stories in his own plain-spoken, honest voice. If any part of his journey has sparked something in you, curiosity, ambition, a desire to build something of your own, then I encourage you to grab a copy. It's more than a business book. It's a manual for a life lived with passion, purpose, and unwavering belief in the power of ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you've found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. We explore wisdom from the world's greatest minds and entrepreneurs right here, and by subscribing, you won't miss the next book we open together. Let's keep learning, and let's keep growing.